If you take a bush baby's mat and you can stand its crying for 7 days, you will become rich. But if you cannot, get ready to die or to go crazy.
Who would dare to try?
Emmanuel mourned Alice for a long time. He went home for his mother's funeral, and during that time he finally heard the full truth about what she had done to Alice. When he found out, he was broken and deeply hurt. He never knew how mean his mother could be. All his life, he believed his mother was a good woman. But sometimes a mother's love can go the wrong way. Alice did not deserve what happened to her. The principal chose Emmanuel's future over Alice's life. And in trying to protect her son's future, she destroyed it completely. And very soon, you will see how. Back at the university, Emmanuel found it hard to focus. His mother was gone. The woman he loved was gone. And his child was gone. It was too much for him to handle. He began to skip classes. He started waking up late. He hardly ate.
His friends were worried about him.
But while he was drowning in pain, life around him went on as normal. Back in the town where the principal and Alice once lived, Bush Baby was still bothering people. Schoolgirls still heard the cry of the baby at night. Madame Cecilia was dead. Bush Baby was alone in the world with a father who did not know it existed. Rumors began to spread that it was the witch who made the monster. People became scared of going near the bush after sunset. And then something new started to happen. Every last day of the month, a mat would appear. Sometimes in the middle of a T-junction, sometimes in front of someone's shop, and other times at the gate of a house. Nobody ever saw who put it there. For most people, when they saw the mat, they simply moved it from the road and went on with their lives. But not everyone did this. One day, a new meat or suya seller named Malam Hassan moved to the community. He did not know much about the town's history. One evening, he saw the mat placed neatly in front of his shop. It looked different from a normal mat. It was strong, neat, and almost beautiful. He asked around, but no one said it was theirs. Since he liked it, he took it home. And that was the start of his trouble. The first night, Malam Hassan could not sleep. He kept hearing something moving around his house. He searched everywhere until he finally found a rat. He felt better. So this is what was bothering me, he said. He lay back down, but not long after, the noise started again, and this time it was louder. He was tired. He stayed awake all night looking for what was making the noise, but never found it. It sounded like the movement of a very big rat. The next morning, he did not even open his shop. He emptied his house, cleaned everywhere, and put everything back neatly. He wanted to sleep that night, but Bush Baby had other plans. At night, he heard the cry of a baby. At first it was soft. Then, as the hours passed, it became louder. Malam Hassan was confused. None of his neighbors had a newborn baby. So, where was this sound coming from? He covered his ears, but the cry only got louder. After searching the whole house again, he saw something shocking. The sound was coming from the mat. He stared in disbelief. How is this even possible? He asked himself. He took the mat and threw it outside. Tired and worn out, he just sat on the floor and started crying out of frustration. In the end, he fell asleep outside. The next morning, his neighbor woke him up. "Why are you sleeping outside?" the man asked. Malam Hassan asked him, "Did you hear a baby crying last night?" The neighbor replied, "Oh no, I slept well. Where would the baby be crying from?" Malam Hassan explained everything, how he was hearing a baby cry at night and how it was coming from a mat. The neighbor did not take him seriously. Feeling embarrassed, Malam Hassan went back inside his house. But the mat was there. It was inside, exactly where he first put it. He was shocked. Did I sleepwalk? He wondered. He rolled it up and kept it in the corner. He told himself, maybe this lack of sleep is messing with me, because how can a baby be crying from a mat? The next night, it rained heavily. But inside his house, Malam Hassan heard the baby crying again. This time, he also felt strong heat. So, the baby was crying and he was feeling so hot. He stepped into the rain, thinking maybe the heat would go down. But he was still sweating heavily, his sweat mixing with the raindrops. He sat in the middle of the rain crying. His neighbors saw him through their windows and wondered what was wrong with him. For 6 nights, Malam Hassan suffered. Crying, heat, strange sounds. the feeling of something brushing against his skin like strands of hair. He began to feel like he was losing his mind. By the sixth night, he decided he would go back to his state. He believed maybe the problem was because of the town itself. And by the seventh night, he was a shadow of himself, lacking sleep, weak, and worn out. That night was worse. Crying, heat, strange movements, the feeling of something touching him. He could barely take it. He packed his bags and waited for morning. But tiredness took over him. So sometime in the night, he fell asleep. The next morning, Malam Hassan woke up to something amazing. His house was full of wealth. Gold, silver, emerald, cash, and the mat was gone. He called his brothers and showed them everything. He told them what happened each night. His brothers told other people. News spread through the community. Malam Hassan had to leave the town because he felt he was not safe. Too many people knew that he was now very rich. He went back to his state. But after what happened to him, people began to put the story together, and that was how the legend of the mat truly began. After Malam Hassan left the town, news spread about what happened to him. People started talking. Some people believed it.
Some said it was a lie.
Some said the Malam must have done a money ritual and was just lying. But one person believed the story fully, and that was okay. People did not respect him. They made fun of him. They said he would never be anything. When he heard that a simple meat seller stayed 7 nights and became rich, jealousy entered his heart. He told himself, I can do it now. What is there? If he can do it, then I can do it. Okay, started going into the bush every day looking for the mat. Finally, one morning in the middle of a T-junction, he saw it. The mat. It was placed on the ground. He did not wait. He picked it up right away and took it home. He was ready to show everyone that he would soon become rich. The first night, OK heard the cry of a baby. He quickly noticed it was coming from the mat. But unlike Malam Hassan, OK refused to throw the mat away. He was set on it. He did not want anyone to take the mat, so he held on to it. The second night, the crying baby got louder. He started hearing strange movements inside his room, like something was walking around. He searched everywhere but found nothing. He knew the sound was coming from the mat again. Still, he refused to get rid of it. Then the heat began. He was sweating heavily, even though the weather was normal. But OK was stubborn. He told himself that he would put up with anything as long as he would become rich. Suddenly, the mat started moving, slowly sliding across the room toward him. OK froze, but he refused to give up. He wanted that money. The next morning, he came outside looking tired and worn out. His neighbors asked him, OK, why are you looking as if they beat you? Did they catch you stealing again? OK told them proudly that he had taken the mat and he would soon become rich like that Malam. The neighbors laughed and said, OK, oh. That night, OK decided to sleep at his friend's house. He believed that if he was far from the mat, he would be fine. But it was worse at his friend's house. He heard the baby crying again. He felt heat. He heard someone calling his name. OK, help. He started shouting. His friends were confused. They could not see anything. They thought he was losing his mind. OK ran back to his house that same night and threw the mat outside. But when he went into his house, the mat was there again. Exactly where it had been before. That was when real fear entered his heart. He ran to his friends shouting. They tried to hold him down, but he was too wild and decided to burn the mat. That was his biggest mistake. The mat began to move wildly. It hit him. It whipped him. OK screamed in pain. His friends were standing there watching him fight with nothing they could see. To them, it looked like he had fully lost his mind. And truly he had. Because that was how OK went mad. After that event, nobody in the community doubted the story anymore. The mat was real. It could bring wealth, and it could also destroy you. From that day on, whenever people saw the mat in front of their shop, they used a stick to push it away. Whenever they saw it on the road, they crossed to the other side.
Nobody wanted to take the chance.
Years passed. Some people tried to take the mat, but they all ended up either dead or mad. Nobody in their right mind dared to take Bush Baby's mat. 5 years passed. The mat still appeared every last day of the month, but nobody touched it. The town had learned its lesson. During those first 5 years, Emmanuel was still in the university. The truth about his mother and Alice weighed heavily on him. For a long time, he struggled badly. He could not focus in class. He missed lectures. He hardly ate. He woke up late in the mornings. There were times when he felt like dropping out fully. But his friends did not leave him alone. They pulled him to class. They shared notes with him. They made him read. They stayed up with him during exams. Slowly, with their help, Emmanuel was able to settle down. It was not easy, but he graduated. After graduation, he got a job at African Top Bank. That was what brought him back to the same town. Even though 5 years had passed, Emmanuel still found it hard to fall in love. He found it hard to laugh. He found it hard to feel peace. He buried himself in work. But one thing Emmanuel did not find hard was sleeping with women. At least once every 3 days, there was a woman in Emmanuel's bed. His life was simple. Work, women, sleep. Mabel, Alice's old classmate, was still in town. She now owned a boutique. She was smart and pretty. Men bought things for her. Her car, her boutique, her lifestyle. Men made it possible. One day, she walked into African Top Bank and Emmanuel was at the counter. They knew each other right away. They shared numbers. That weekend, they met at Emmanuel's house, and of course they slept together because that one knew they had Emmanuel. Their relationship started in a casual way. They were sleeping together often. 3 months passed. Mabel began to think long-term. She wanted to marry Emmanuel. He was handsome, and she believed she would have beautiful children with him. She knew Emmanuel had not healed from Alice. She knew he would not easily agree to marry her. So she made a choice. She got pregnant for him on purpose. When she told Emmanuel she was pregnant, he did not argue. After what happened to Alice, he did not want another woman to suffer because of him. He agreed to marry her. They got married. But Mabel had other plans. She knew about the mat. She knew about the wealth it could bring. She wanted that wealth, but she was not willing to risk her own life. She only married Emmanuel because she wanted to carry the title Mrs. for some time and have a child as a married woman. She had long-term plans of leaving him. To her, it was nothing deep. One day, she told Emmanuel something that changed everything. She told him that Bush Baby was Alice's child. She reminded him of the principal's confession. She told him how she once met Alice in the hut inside the bush where the principal made Alice live, and Alice told them everything. Putting that together with the principal's confession, she was sure. She said, "If you want peace, if you want to be close to your child, you need to take that mat." The moment Emmanuel heard something about Alice, his heart reacted. He had carried a lot of guilt for years. He always felt like he could have done more. So he began to search. He went into the bush. He passed the T-junction every morning before work. He passed it again in the evening. Until one day, he saw the mat placed neatly in the middle of the T-junction. When Emmanuel saw it, he ran toward it. He picked it up and hugged it. He began to cry. People nearby shouted at him, "Leave that mat alone." They told him about OK and other people who had either died or gone mad after taking that mat. But Emmanuel did not listen. He took the mat home, and when Mabel saw it in his hands, she smiled. The moment Emmanuel went into the house, Mabel acted fast. She did not waste time. While he was still holding the mat, she led him into the second room in the house, the smaller one that they hardly used.
For a moment, she paused.
She wanted to stop her plan, but she reminded herself that nobody helped Alice. So Emmanuel did not deserve help either. Before Emmanuel knew what was happening, she stepped out and locked the door from outside. "You just have to bear it for 7 days," she said calmly. "After that, we will be rich." Emmanuel was shocked. "Which rich?" He knocked on the door. "Mabel, open this door. I have to rest in bed. I have work tomorrow. I can't stay here for 7 days." But she refused. She passed food and water to him through the window. She told him to be strong. Emmanuel's torment was different from Malam's and OK's. This time it was personal. Bush Baby was actually the spirit of Alice, and she knew it was him. She had loved him at one time, but she was also angry. Angry that he did not fight harder for her. Angry that he never came looking. Angry that he had moved on. The first night, Emmanuel saw her, Alice, sitting quietly on the mat. He froze. She looked exactly the way he remembered her. She asked him softly, "Why didn't you ask more about me?" Emmanuel began to cry. "I am sorry," he said. "I did not know. I did not know what she did. I did not know my mother could do such a wicked thing." They talked for a long time. Outside the house, Mabel heard his voice. She peeked through the window, trying to see who he was talking to, but she saw no one. Her heart sank. Is he going mad like, okay already, she wondered. This is just day one.
Oh.
On the second night, Emmanuel asked Alice the question that changed everything. He asked, "What happened to you? What happened to the baby? Tell me everything." Right when he asked those questions, a loud scream filled the room. Then came the upsetting sound of a baby crying. It was louder than anything he had ever heard. The crying felt different when it was Emmanuel. The sound shook him. That question made the spirit of Alice angry. The crying did not stop. Emmanuel began hearing things moving around the room. He saw Alice walking back and forth, but only he could see her. Mabel heard him shouting inside, "Alice, I'm sorry." She thought about opening the door, but she remembered the wealth, and she stayed quiet. On the third day, he had clearly lost weight. He hardly ate. He hardly slept. He talked to himself all the time. Sometimes he would laugh. Sometimes he would cry. On the fifth day, Alice came again. This time, she was not calm. She looked at him and asked, "Why did you marry Mabel?" Emmanuel answered honestly. She was pregnant. Alice stared at him. "So you want to take care of her and her child while I and my child keep wandering the bush?" Emmanuel shouted, "I am sorry, Alice. Forgive me." Alice burst into laughter, a loud, strange laughter, and Emmanuel began to laugh too. He laughed for almost 3 hours straight. Outside the room, Mabel was scared. She did not know whether to go on or to stop. She wanted the 7 days to be done. So she left the house and stayed in a hotel. There were only 2 days left, after all. The 6th and 7th nights were the hardest. The crying came back. The heat came back. Emmanuel saw Alice angry. He felt something touching him. He heard whispers calling his name. He begged.
He cried.
He said sorry over and over again. By the 7th night, he was barely awake. Then suddenly, silence. No cry, no heat, no voice. He fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, Mabel came home. She opened the door to the room. A bad smell filled the air. Emmanuel was sleeping on the floor. The room was full of wealth. Gold, silver, emerald, cash. Mabel stood there in shock. "Damn it! I am rich," she shouted. Bundles of cash. It was real. And the mat was gone. Emmanuel was still sleeping on the floor, breathing heavily like someone who had just lived through a battle. Mabel did not wake him right away. She let him sleep. For the first time in 7 days, the house was fully quiet. When Emmanuel finally woke up, he looked weak and confused. He went to the bathroom and took a long bath and came out slowly. He looked at Mabel. "What did you do to me?" he asked. Mabel did not show guilt. She laughed lightly. "So, after what happened to Alice, you think I can really love you?" she said. "At least now we are rich." Emmanuel looked at her closely. "Who is we?" he asked. "That wealth is for me and me alone." Mabel laughed again. "You lie," she said. "You lie, Emmanuel." But Emmanuel was serious. He began to plan right away. He took a part of the wealth and built a house. Inside the house, he made a special room for the riches. He gave Mabel a smaller part, enough to take care of her and the child for life. He wanted nothing to do with Mabel. But something inside Emmanuel was no longer normal. Even 1 year after the meeting with the mat, he was not the same. He would talk to himself. Sometimes he would shout in the middle of the night. Sometimes he would laugh suddenly for no reason. He said he still saw Alice. He said he still heard crying. Sometimes he would say sorry to empty corners of the room. "Alice, I'm sorry." He needed help, and Mabel felt sorry for him. She had to move in with him to help him. He still disliked her, but He loved their child. His health did not get better, and Mabel could no longer handle it. In the end, she and some family members took him to a mental hospital. He was in and out of the hospital for years. Sometimes he looked stable, but sometimes he was fully out of control. The wealth did not bring him peace. It only made his pain worse. And one day, Emmanuel finally left the world, not in a violent way, not in a dramatic way, just a broken man whose mind never healed. Mabel stayed. She was still his legal wife. She had the wealth. She had the child. In the end, she gained the most. The mat had given riches, but it had also taken something important. In a strange way, the principal's choice years ago had come full circle. She tried to protect her son's future. She destroyed Alice's life to make it safe. But that same choice became the root of Emmanuel's pain. Sometimes love done the wrong way becomes wickedness. And sometimes the results do not end with one generation. The mat still appears every last day of the month, waiting. But the town knows. Wealth can come, madness can come, and sometimes the end can come. Peace rarely comes with that mat. So, at the end of the day, do you think the mat was a blessing or really a curse? Let me know in the comments.